We want to go straight to breaking news this hour. Former South African President Nelson Mandela just passed away a short time ago. He was 95 years old. Now, Mandela has been viewed as a hero to people all around the world and was the biggest leader against apartheid. His health has been failing consistently over the past few months due to a recurring lung infection. He was last in the hospital in September, but was discharged and allowed to return home. He was a Nobel Peace Prize laureate and one of South Africa's most beloved presidents of all time. RT's Paula Sleer brings us a look back at this great leader's life.
He's the man who pulled a troubled and divided land back from the brink of civil war. The man who, after 27 tough years behind bars, walked free from prison. In his heart was not revenge.
I think that his greatest legacy to this country is reconciliation.
In the last 3 decades, the world tirelessly polished the image of Nelson Mandela, an image recognized around the world. Only Coca-Cola is better known. But a man whose struggle for racial equality against South Africa's ruling white minority had a dark side.
The world has conveniently forgotten about Nelson Mandela, the leader of an armed struggle, a radical, someone who embraced violence as a necessary political instrument at a particular juncture in our history.
Mandela and his colleagues were forced underground when the authorities banned the movement in 1960. This house was the secret headquarters of the African National Congress. It was here in the early 60s that Mandela and his comrades launched the armed struggle. It was also here that most of them were arrested, put on trial and sentenced to life in prison. At what was known as the Rivonia trial in 1964, Mandela and 10 of his colleagues faced the death penalty for sabotage. One of the men alongside him in the dock was Dennis Goldberg, an engineer and bomb maker in the sabotage campaign. He spent 22 years behind bars.
Nelson Mandela was called a terrorist because he took up arms against the apartheid government. Governments like to support governments. They claim legitimacy. The West had big investments, gold mines, industry, the sea transport links to the east, the Cape route was very important. They supported the apartheid government. Any opponent was therefore a terrorist.
It's doubtful apartheid would have lasted as long as it did if the world community hadn't closed ranks behind the white government. British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher denounced Mandela as a terrorist and was once quoted as saying anyone who thought the ANC could rule South Africa was living in cloud cuckoo land. Years later, she welcomed Mandela to Downing Street. Washington also did a 180-degree turn, although it was only in 2008 that it removed all references to Mandela and his colleagues as terrorists from its database. The change in heart, according to this man, whose lawyer father was an activist in the South African underground, was because of a change in the political climate.
With perestroika, the glasnost, the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1990, the self-interest of the West in terms of preserving or protecting South Africa from falling into the hands of the communists became less and less significant and less important.
Mandela was not alone in world leaders who endured a love-hate relationship at the hands of the West. Darlings of the West one moment, villains the next. Libya's Muammar Gaddafi, Egypt's Hosni Mubarak, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, to name but a few. South African journalist Chris Bishop believes the 1964 trial that saw Mandela and his comrades sentenced to life helped turn the world in their favor.
During the trial, these gentlemen who were on trial, the Rivonia trialists, they went from being the accused of being people in the dock, as slowly it transformed. They became the Benjamin Franklins of Africa. They became the freedom fighters. They became the men of principle who were standing up merely for the rights of others. And it slowly turned world opinion around.
From reviled terrorist to one of the greatest freedom fighters to have ever walked the earth, the story of Nelson Mandela is remarkable. A man who stood up for the rights of people everywhere, but also a familiar tale of governments putting a garland of flowers around your neck one day and a rope the next. Paula Sleer, RT, Johannesburg, South Africa.
And And we are showing you right now a live look outside of Nelson Mandela's house. Again, Nelson Mandela, the most beloved president of South Africa's history, died today at 95 years old. He was in Johannesburg, South Africa. People are obviously gathering. Please tune into RT.com for the latest information coming out. And of course, we'll be bringing it to you all night.